From the Breaking the Chains release, that is the studio live version of Paris is Burning. And Whitesburg was burning last week.
Was it?
It was burning up with some, rocking with some Dokken.
Dude, you know, I know you're going to get into it. And I just have to ask the one question. And then you can talk about this later. But it's just something I've been wanting to ask all week. Taylor put up this picture of this chick standing up with her arms up in the air.
Yes.
In front of the stage.
Yes. Did
you not want to just throw a brick at her?
Well, let me get to that.
All right.
Let me get to that.
Because I saw the picture and I wanted to throw a brick at her.
Right. I think she even was in one of the photos that I text over to you during the show.
Okay. Yeah.
If you look at one of the photos, she's standing up, making a total ass of herself.
Right.
Yeah. So, last week, as you know, most everybody knows, it was Thanksgiving weekend for pretty much everybody.
Right.
And Don was playing a solo acoustic show in Whitesburg. Now, if you've been a fan of the classic metal show for any length of time, you know that our good friend Greg Napier from the rock show, WMMT, the rock show.
Sure.
He had brought Don into Whitesburg about 6 years ago or so. Mm-hmm. And it unfortunately was in like January. And, you know, just like what happened with the CMS 13th anniversary show, of course, the day of the show comes a blizzard.
Right.
Well, same thing happened when Don played in Whitesburg. You know, they had a sold out show, which, you know, for sold out there was 200.
Wow.
You know, because it's a small room.
It's like population of the whole town, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, you know, that time that Don played there, there was a blizzard.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people did not make the show.
Okay.
So here it is 6 years later. WMMT is celebrating their 30th anniversary.
Right.
And Don decided, you know what, Greg has been pretty good to me and the Dokken catalog and whatnot. I'll come down there and do another solo acoustic show.
That's pretty nice. I'm going to fly across the country to do that.
Yeah. You know, and it was, you know, obviously Greg paid his expenses and whatnot, but it wasn't a money gig.
Right.
You know, it was more or less just.
It was a thank you gig.
Yeah. Thank you for playing Dokken all these years.
Mm-hmm.
And WMMT covers like 5 states.
Wow.
They got a very strong signal, and they cover Kentucky, Virginia, West Virginia, Tennessee, you know, maybe Southern Ohio.
So, is that on CB radio?
Well, it's a pretty powerful FM signal.
Right.
And Greg has been doing his show for, you know, quite a few years. I think 10 years, I think.
Okay.
And he does it on Sunday nights. It's all freeform rock. They don't stick to any kind of a format. They're not limited to a playlist. Mm-hmm. Greg will pretty much play anything that you want to hear.
Yeah, I like the rock show personally. I listen to it from time to time.
Yeah, I listened to it on the way home last Sunday, and, you know, I tune in, you know, if say there was any football on or something like that, and I'm just kind of hanging out and want some, you know, music in the background, I'll put the TuneIn app on my cell phone there and listen to it on the Bose docking station, and it's just as good as any radio that you hear, if not better.
It's probably better.
Yeah. So anyway, I'd been corresponding. You and I have been corresponding, you know, with Greg for years.
Sure. He's
been on our show, and he's allowed me to be on his show, and, you know, we have a mutual friend in Don and, you know, whatnot. And, you know, I thought I got the time to do this. I think I'm just going to make the trip down because I'd like to meet Greg in person. Another guy, you know, that I've never met in person that I've been corresponding with for 15 years and never met the guy face to face is our good friend Sammy Lee. He was just in the chat room.
Okay.
And I've never met the guy.
Oh, that's probably good. I mean, that's bad.
You know, and he makes the CMS shirts, and, you know, he's currently working with his band Red Rain and working with our good friend Chipster PR.
Right.
And re-recording some songs and whatnot, and we have a good friendship relationship, although we've never met in person.
Nathan in the chat room. Taylor was the only 21-year-old girl in Whitesburg, Kentucky last Saturday night with all her teeth.
Well, let me tell you some stories about that.
Okay. Is that a true statement?
Well, let me tell you some stories.
Nice.
So, me and the lovely Taylor headed out Saturday morning.
Okay.
And it was about a 400 and a little over 400 mile trip down there. So it was about a 7-hour ride.
All right. I'm going to stop you right here. How hungover was Taylor from seeing King Diamond the night before?
Not at all.
Really?
No.
She's a phony. Fake partier.
Why do you think she's a partier?
I just assume.
Oh, she's not a partier.
No?
She just loves the music. She loves the entertainment.
I just assumed go to that many shows, you must fucking...
No, you know what? And Taylor and I have been to several shows.
Yeah.
And she's not a big drinker. She's kind of like me, She has a couple, and that's enough.
Well, I wish I could relate.
Yeah, you know me. You've known me for years, and she and I are very similar in our drinking habits, if you will. 2 or 3 and you're done.
Would your bar tab for a year equal one of my bar tabs?
Probably not. Nah.
I'll put it this way. My bar tab last night was $114. How many shows would you have to go to get to $114?
With a date or just myself?
Just yourself.
Just myself?
Yeah. Or with a date. You and Taylor.
Okay.
How many times would you have to go out to match 114, which was my bar tab last night?
Probably 4. Yeah.
It's funny.
So,
all right, go ahead.
So anyway, we headed out Saturday morning. I picked her up at 8 and we rolled out of here and, headed down to Kentucky.
Yeah.
And for the most part, it was a pretty decent ride. Traffic wasn't bad. Had to go through Indianapolis, Cincinnati, Lexington, Kentucky.
Right.
And then we hit the Parkway, and that was a combination of 4-lane and 2-lane road for over 80 miles.
Okay.
All the way down in the southern hills of Kentucky. And, people who have watched TV, growing up in the TV era, you hear about the Dukes of Hazzard.
Right.
Well, we had to go right through Hazzard.
Really?
Yeah, to get there. And
do they glorify the Dukes of Hazzard there?
We didn't stop, but it definitely is not. It's definitely here's the part of going through Kentucky. My dad is from down in that area. That's okay. Where he was raised as when he was younger.
Right.
And I'd never been there before. This is the first time I ever made the trip.
Okay.
And my dad told me stories about the terrain and what it was like to grow up down there and whatnot. And everything that he told me as a kid, describing his childhood just came rushing back to me because he described it almost to a T.
Really? All
these hills and mountains and, this strip mining and coal and all this kind of stuff. And these people live up in these ridges way up in the hill. Right. I mean, it's crazy. It's really just a different way of life. And, you can make all the jokes you want and whatnot, but if you ever seen the movie like Deliverance or whatever,
right,
it's like that.
Now, is that just Whitesburg or is that
no? It's just that whole area, that whole southern Kentucky area.
Just a good old boy, ever meaning no harm. Beats all you never saw, been in trouble with the law since the day they were born.
Why do I just envision that every time you tell these stories?
It's exactly like that. So you go down there, and do you remember the beginning of the Beverly Hillbillies?
Yeah, sure.
Remember the little shack that they load up the truck and they leave, and the little cabin is there?
Right.
Seeing cabins that looked like that
right,
wasn't out of the norm. Trailers and little ramshackled cabins was the terrain down there.
Really?
I mean, it was the craziest goddamn thing. Pickup trucks, ramshackled cabins, and trailer parks. A lot of that. And you call it stereotyping or whatever, but that's the truth of the matter.
Sure.
So, we drove down through there and get down to Whitesburg.
Okay.
And Greg had us put up at the Whitesburg Inn.
Is that remember the show Newhart?
Yes. No,
Is it like that?
No, it wasn't like a bed and breakfast type place. It was more or less kind of like a Motel 8.
Oh.
Kind of like that.
Was that like the nicest hotel in all of Whitesburg?
I think so, but it was clean. It was clean, and it wasn't, it wasn't like some old rundown, beat up place,
Right.
But they had CRT TVs in the room. They didn't have the flat panels,
Right.
So they had the big old bulky TV sitting on the dresser.
So you had no dresser space because it was covered by some big old fucking 30-pound television.
Basically, yes. So, have you ever seen My Cousin Vinny?
Yeah, sure.
You know how when they first roll into town down in Alabama and all the town folk are sitting around,
Right.
on the benches and stuff, and Joe Pesci and Marissa Tomei, they're kind of like city folk.
Yep.
Well, that was us.
Sure.
We look like we were so out of place down there.
Now, let's draw the picture. You're wearing what, and Taylor's wearing what?
Well, Taylor was wearing jeans and like a leather coat with like some fur on it,
So I'm sure there was some fur on it on the inside line of the pants, but the fucking. So and what were you wearing?
I was wearing just like my black jeans and a leather coat, like a leather motorcycle jacket.
So you guys were not like leathered up though at that point.
No.
Okay, you weren't like band people coming in.
No, not
guys.
exactly. No.
Okay.
But still, we weren't wearing bib overalls and flannel shirts.
You two were the only two in the county that didn't have handmade clothing.
More or less.
Is that what it was?
Right. So we checked into the hotel there, and I text Greg and let him know we were there, and he said he and Don were over at the Summit City Lounge.
Hey, howdy, partner. What you doing in town? I get you a room.
They were finishing up a sound check, and by the time we got checked in and everything, Taylor's like, "I am hungry as fuck. I go, I'm gonna die if I don't get something soon." And
so
she goes,
"Whip out your cock and just."
So it reminded me again of My Cousin Vinny, where Marissa's going, "I bet you their Chinese food is awful here." Well, Taylor's like, "I wonder if they have Mexican food here." Sure enough, they had a Mexican joint in the little plaza like next to the hotel.
Taco Bell?
No, it was actually a Mexican place.
Well, Taco Bell.
No, it was an actual restaurant,
Right, for the one Mexican guy that hasn't been lynched.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Were there Mexicans working there?
They were.
Really?
Yes.
Was their house out back?
Well, it was in a little strip mall plaza.
Were they penned in where they couldn't leave? Got to keep control of these fucking foreigners.
Right. So we went in there, and actually it was good. It was good Mexican.
Right.
It was
nice.
It was good food. So we went back to the room after getting something to eat, and then I called Greg, and he says, "Well, I'm gonna come back and pick up Dawn at like 8:45."
Right. Hey, buddy, I'll be there at 9 ticks on the clock.
Exactly. So it was already it was like 7:30, 7:45
Well, there you are entering the hotel.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we look like too. That's exactly what we look like. This gorgeous girl and me in my leathers going into the hotel. That's exactly what it reminded me of.
Too funny.
Yeah. So Taylor's taking a shower, getting ready, whatnot, and
we're soaping her front.
And so we go down to the lobby, at 8:45. And I've never met Greg.
Okay.
And we walk down into the lobby area, and I see this guy standing out by a car in front of the hotel, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I look out the door, and he just like points at me like, "Hey, I know you."
Hey, buddy.
So I don't know who I'm looking for, so I just assumed it was Greg.
Hey, buddy, come on over to the pickup.
Yeah, more or less. So he come into the hotel there, big old country boy.
All right.
He's got his cargo pants on. You know, it's like 60 degrees outside.
Right.
You know, so it wasn't cold, and you know he had his like Carhartt jacket on and his stocking cap. You know, he was.
Oh, no hat. No cowboy hat.
No, just the stocking cap.
What the hell?
You
was
know,
he trying to be cool for you?
So we greeted each other, and hey, how's it going? How's the trip? And blah blah blah. You know.
I can't believe you made it, buddy.
Yeah,
I can't believe you finally made it to Whitesburg.
Well, of course, you know, Greg, and yeah, it's an honor to have you here, Neeley. It's a big honor. I'm looking forward to having you and Don here, and I can't tell you what an honor it was. And
and Neeley, come on over here and meet the mayor. He's got your key to the city.
So Greg was just like, I got the car out here. It's all warmed up. Don's going to be coming out any minute. He says, you guys come hang out in the car or wait here in the lobby. I said, well, I'll just wait in the lobby here. I haven't talked to Don yet, so.
Come on and get in the car, Neeley. This one doesn't need a horse.
So a few minutes, Don came out, and he's just like, hey, brother, how are you? You know, kind of, you know, hug each other and whatever. And he says, hey, I got something for you. And I said, he goes, come on back to the room with me. I got something for you. So we went back to Don's room, and, you know, he had just come back from Europe, right?
Right, sure.
And he says, he goes, you know, I was going to bring some of the, you know, the vintage merchandise with me, but, you know, I didn't want to lug all that through the airport and whatnot, you know. He says, but I did have 4 of these shirts left over from the European tour. He had some company over in Germany make these special tour shirts for his short run, his 8-show run over in Europe.
Sure.
And he gave me one. He said, I only got 4 left. He said, you can have one, Taylor can have one, and I got 2 for a couple people that are coming to the show tonight.
Oh, nice.
So it's a pretty kick-ass shirt. I'll take a picture of it, and you can put it on the Facebook. But
okay.
It was a pretty cool. He says, I only had 4 left, so I'm giving you one, and Taylor can have one, and you know, so
the rest of them you can see on the refugees as they come into
more or less. So we got in the car, and we were driving over to the Summit City Lounge, you know, and I
Greg
said,
gave the horse a good kick.
So
clump, 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 clump.
So we're driving over, and Don says, well, you got a like a waiting room, green room, whatever. He goes, oh yeah, I got you all set up over there. Got you some Jack Daniels, got you some Coke, got some set up over there for you.
Now, is the green room really just like the woods out back with a door?
We pull up to this, that's kind of an older structure.
Okay.
And come in through the basement. And it is
like Goodfellas.
Huh?
Like in Goodfellas.
Yes, exactly. That's exactly what it was like going through the kitchen. Exactly.
Right, nice.
So we go through this basement area, and it is a basement area.
All right.
All of the bar supplies are down there.
Right.
All the extra booze and potato chips and everything that they serve at the bar is down there.
Right, sure.
He leads us into this dark, dank, smelly basement room, and there's this little nook. This little nook is 8 feet wide and about 8 feet deep. It's like 8 by 8.
Jesus, it's like the size of a tiny stage.
Exactly. Well, it's a little teeny nook.
Okay.
There's a round table, 4 little chairs.
Yeah.
1 little Dixie cup full of ice.
Dixie cup?
A Dixie cup.
Isn't that about 2 cubes of ice?
Well, there was a handful of ice, literally a handful. A small bottle of Jack Daniels, one of the small ones.
A pint?
No, it's not even a pint.
The kind like you get on an airplane?
Well, a little bit bigger than that.
Okay.
The next size up, I don't know what that size is, but it's a teeny bottle.
Then how many drinks will it make?
5 maybe.
All right.
and it's just like, there you go, fellas. I'm just like,
party on.
I was just like, what? I said, so, and get that. This is not a knock on Greg. Trust me, this is not a knock on Greg.
Right.
And I was just like, Greg, what are you guys doing? Are you rationing ice or what's going on? And Don looks, and there's literally a Dixie cup full of ice and one can of Coke.
One Coke. Party on, guys. Don't get carried away here.
And Don looks and he goes, Greg, I'm sure Wendell and Taylor would want a cocktail too. You think you could get us a cup and some ice?
What, you guys can't share?
So Greg brings over some of those red Dixie cups.
Yeah.
And he's dividing the ice from the one little Dixie cup into the 3 red cups.
How many pieces of ice could possibly
About
be
4 pieces per cup. And I said, Greg, isn't there any ice around here? Well, you got to go upstairs and get it from the bartender. I'll go up there and try to get you some.
Jesus, Neeley, we're having a nor'easter. There's not a lot of ice.
So I was just like, you got to be shitting me. So we're sitting there just kind of shooting the shit, and the guys that come down, he and his wife, Tim, I can't think of his wife's name. I think her name was Pamela. This guy Tim, he used to tech for Dokken back in the 90s when they first got back together with the original lineup.
Okay.
He teched for George.
Okay.
And he and his wife live in Louisville.
He texts for George, and Donald still let him come to a show?
Well, he worked with the band, back in the 90s.
Okay.
And had a good, relationship with them. And he and his wife are a musician in their own right and whatnot. And they came over from Louisville to accompany Don on vocal and guitar and bass. And, I'm sure you saw them in the photo.
Yeah. And I heard him on the audio.
Yeah, sure. So they came down and Don introduced me to them, and we were kind of standing around talking, and
right.
He said, yeah, Tim used to tech for us back in the 90s, and, he traveled with us and, whatever. And so then the story started turning toward George.
Well, I guarantee you at this point, though, Don did not offer him a drink.
No, well.
There was none to offer.
Well, we were standing there waiting. He goes, where is Greg? Isn't he going to bring us some ice and stuff? And, whatever. And so we're kind of standing around there just kind of waiting. And so this.
Hold on. But before you get to these stories,
yes.
I'm still lost on this cater deal. So there's no food of any kind?
No, nothing.
Not a party tray of crackers and cheese? Nothing?
Nothing.
Oh, my God.
Nothing. Well, here's the other thing.
All right.
This little nook area that we were in.
Yeah.
Mind you, this building was very old.
Yeah.
And I said to Don, Don, my nose and my eyes are just burning.
Okay.
And he turned around and looked. He goes, God damn it. He says, look at this wall. It's black. It was just totally moldy.
Not painted.
It was just black with mold. He says, we got to get the hell out of here. He says, because if this gets into my system, he says, I definitely won't be able to sing. And he said, this is just bad. My eyes and my nose starting to burn too.
Oh boy.
Right. So anyway, this Tim and his wife came down and he introduced me to them.
Right.
And we were standing there and talking. He goes, yeah, I used to tech for George and whatnot. And then the George stories started coming out.
Okay.
And he said, yeah, he says, remember, you guys had it on the rider that George needed 6 raw eggs. And Don's like, yeah, he says, that's when he was doing all his roids and his weightlifting and his bodybuilding, and he was drinking raw eggs and whatnot. And he said, that was the worst. He said, that guy, he would sit there and fart and smell like raw eggs. He said he would stink up the entire bus.
Ugh.
And he goes, yeah, I know. He says George would just be sitting there, and then all of a sudden he would get this smile on his face and start laughing to himself, and I knew there was one coming, so I'd just get up and get the hell out of there. He says it just got so bad in the bunk area on the bus. He said I had to come up front and sleep on the couch in the front cabin.
Good God, he had that wicked sensation, didn't he?
Because he was farting rotten eggs.
Hey, there's a picture of the green room.
So, yeah, that's what it looked like too. It's just moldy.
Nice.
Terrible. So while we were sitting there, you could hear the crowd getting a little bit restless upstairs because we were in the basement right below where everybody was upstairs.
So and there was no opening band or anything?
Well, if they were, they'd already played.
Okay.
So I said, this is ridiculous. So I went upstairs and I went to the bar.
Right.
And I ran into Psycho Postman.
Okay.
He was there at the show and he was wearing his CMS shirt and whatnot. And, he came over to the bar and said hello to me. And we were kind of shooting the shit for a few minutes. And I got a hold of the bartender and I said, hey, what's the chances of you giving me some ice and some Cokes and stuff for Don downstairs? And the bartender's like, oh, no problem, buddy.
Hey, buddy, take whatever you want.
So he goes over.
This Dokken feel good here.
So he goes over to the kitchen area.
Yeah.
And gets this big boiler pan. All right, this big boiler pot.
Right.
This, what do you want to call it? Institutional size boiler pot.
Will hold like 40 gallons of water.
More or less, yes. And he starts scooping ice into it like a madman. Just filling this thing up. And I'm just like, hey, that's enough. I don't need a whole pan. It just, I just need some for some drinks.
So you went from not having any ice to having a fucking iceberg.
More or less.
Nice.
Then I said, any chance to get some Cokes too? And so he goes over to the cooler and he starts pulling these Cokes out, just pulling them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just like, dude, I only need like 3 or 4. That's plenty. So he gives me like 3 or 4 Cokes and a big boiler pan of ice and stuff.
Yeah.
And I took it downstairs and I made Don a fresh drink and I had one for me and gave one to Taylor. And, we were ready to go. And Don's like, man, if we don't get out of this place, he says, I'm going to get sick. He said, let's just get upstairs and get this thing done. He said, this mold is it's affecting me.
Nice.
So, we went upstairs and, Don took his place and whatnot. So this little stage, it's no bigger than a postage stamp. I'm sure you saw it from the photos I sent in.
It looks like it's an 8x8.
Yeah, it's a very small stage, just enough for 3 stools. Well, Don was telling me downstairs, he says, I don't know how they put on shows here. He says, but, during sound check, I was like, where's the lights? They got 2 can lights, 2. And the gels in them were just like faded out to where there was no color left.
So it's just 2 lights.
Yeah, 2 lights.
Like 2 lamps put on them.
More or less. And apparently Tim had some forethought or foresight.
Yeah.
And he brought some LED lighting with him.
Okay.
I don't know, he just must have thought to do it, or what if we need these or whatever. But this guy brought an LED light setup with him.
Okay.
And they were able to light up the stage and make a nice ambiance, and give it some, some character.
Right. Was that hard to wire into the generator?
So what Don wanted to do, being it was such a small town show and there was like 200 people in the room.
Yeah.
He wanted to make it more like a storyteller's type thing.
Okay.
Now, getting back to your comment earlier about what Nathan from Kentucky said about Taylor being the only 21-year-old in the town with all her teeth.
Okay.
Don was making no toothless jokes
On stage?
on stage and making incest jokes.
Oh, I love it.
And he was like in the middle of telling a story.
Yeah.
He was like, somebody asked a question about a certain song. So he went in and he says, well, I want to tell this story. So he was telling the story and everybody's like totally silent listening to Don tell his story.
Yeah.
Here's one chick over in the corner, blah, 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 just yapping over there.
Right.
So Don just stopped his story and just sat there. and the whole room was silent, and all you could hear was this girl just flapping her yap over there.
Was she on the phone? Or
No. She was talking to her husband or boyfriend. I'm assuming it was her husband.
Right.
Yapping away.
Nice.
And she realized that the whole room was silent, and the only one that could be heard was her.
Oh, God.
Look at that. Look at that big vat of ice.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's plenty. So she stopped talking and she like looked around, of course, embarrassed that, and he goes, go ahead and finish your story. It's all about you tonight.
Nice.
So put her on the spot, embarrassed.
Did she run out the place?
No. So, getting back to the audience and to your question about the chick standing up and raising her arms and the video that Taylor had posted.
Right.
Taylor and I were sitting at the back of the stage, watching the crowd, and this chick was getting up, just embarrassing herself.
Being a cunt.
Yeah, more or less.
Yeah.
And Taylor's like, look at that fucking bitch over there. And I go, I know. She goes, I'm gonna video her.
Right.
So we'll get a good one, So that's where that video came from.
Yeah.
So she's up there just dancing around, making a fool of herself. Everybody else is sitting there just kind of enjoying the show, and she's got to be making a spectacle of herself.
She had that dumb God Dokken.
Yeah, she had that white sweatshirt on. It says "Got Dokken."
Yeah, made out of the finest Sharpie that you can purchase in Whitesburg. I'm sure,
more or less,
because that was not like a real shirt.
Yeah, well, couple other chicks came to the show.
Okay,
a couple big old girls came to the show together. Mm-hmm. One gal had a shirt made that said Mrs. Don Dokken.
Ugh.
Exactly. And the other girl had Mrs. Don Dokken's friend.
Get the fuck out.
I'm not kidding you.
Why did you go over and take a picture with them?
I should have. I didn't think about it.
Dude, any freaks you have to take pictures
Yeah,
with.
I know. I guess I was just so, just kind of focused in on just kind of keep an eye on things, because this is one of those situations where things could get out of hand pretty quick. So I was kind of like being vigilant.
Hard. Right.
Okay. So of course, once again, and people won't believe it, but since Psycho Postman was there, he witnessed it and you heard it in the recording, always with the sound guy.
I know.
Always with the sound guy, and you always hear those people, Don always blames the sound guy because he fucking sucks and can't sing. Well, the feedback on these goddamn monitors was just, I was sitting at the back of the stage, and it would literally blow you off your chair.
Right.
And so Don, of course, being as cool as he is, trying to help the monitor guy figure out what the right setting is.
Right.
It's like, I'm not going to continue until we get this fixed, but he'd start into a song and
nice.
So it happens. I don't know why it happens at Dokken shows, but these people just can't get it together.
Right.
Well, anyway, he did a pretty good show. It was fun. It was laid back. It wasn't, obviously it wasn't the in-your-face Dokken show, but it was fun.
Acoustic set.
Yeah, it was just a fun, laid back, easy-going show.
Right.
So the show is over. I think I covered all the bases there. So the show is over. So, of course, being it's a small town and a small room,
yeah,
everybody and their brother wants to touch fame.
Oh, wow. Well, you got Don Dokken in Whitesburg.
Well, more or less, yes. So just as the show was ending, I said to Taylor, I said, let's go out into the, main area. Let's go over and say hello to Psycho Postman.
Right.
He's out here watching the show. Let's go over here and I'll introduce you and, whatnot. So we went down there and we were chit-chatting with him for a few minutes, and I turn around and the entire room is heading up toward the stage.
Oh, my God.
So I'm kind of watching things, and I said to Taylor and Psycho Postman, I said, listen, I could see things are going to get out of hand here in a minute. I said, let's just go up there. I said, once you guys go with me, you can kind of sit out on the side here, but I got to help Don, because if I don't, this is going to get ugly quick.
Right.
So I went up there and got everybody lined up. And Don, of course, as nice and gracious as he always is, he's going to take a picture with everybody and sign everybody's shit.
Right.
And, of course, everybody who is a hardcore Dokken fan brought every one of their vinyls and every one of their CDs. And he signed every one of them.
Came up with bags full of shit.
They did.
That's when you just got to say, look, take one out, you fucking idiot.
Right. Well, Don signed every one of them.
Jeez, what a nice dude.
So I stood up there, and there was literally 100 people in line.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, I said, Don, I'm going to help you out. I'm going to run these people through as quick as possible, because you know how people stand there and want to talk to you forever.
Dude, I remember seeing that fucking Dream Warriors.
Yeah,
time. I was sitting in front of my TV, and the Bengals video had just finished, and I was rubbing one out to fucking the Bengals, and then on came Freddy Krueger, and I was like, dude, what the hell is this, Freddy Krueger on MTV? But then there was Dokken playing, man, and there was you, Don. It was you playing the song.
That's exactly the kind of thing that would go on. So I got everybody lined up, and I walked down through the line. I said, if you got something you want Don to sign, have it out, have it ready. If you want to take a picture, have your phone or your camera ready.
Right.
I said, don't wait to the last minute. I said, Don isn't going to stay here forever. I said, so get up there, get your thing signed, get your photo done, and out.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask this question. How many people came up and then couldn't work their fucking phone?
Well, I worked the phone for them.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Nice.
I made everybody hand me their phone, and I took the photo, click and gone. Click and out. Click and out. That's exactly how I did it.
Hey, move along, fuckface.
That's basically what it did, too. And Don's like, I'm not going to stand here and sign every one of these people's fucking shit. I said, Don, it'll go quick. Trust me.
Right.
And so I didn't let anybody stand around and hey, just do exactly what you said.
Right.
I remember the first time I saw Breaking the Chains, I didn't let them do that. I just like, dude, get in the photo, click, here's your stuff, go.
Get out.
Yep. And I got them through in about 25 minutes.
Nice. That ain't for 200 people. That's not bad.
Yeah. I got them through very quickly.
Nice.
About 30 to 40 seconds a person.
Nice. That's
just,
not bad at
all. In and out.
Yep.
So then after everybody finally got all their stuff signed, Don's like, where in the fuck is Greg?
I was just going to ask, where's he to help you?
He was nowhere to be found.
What, did he leave?
No, he was at the front door because he was not only was he running the show and the everything, he was also collecting the tickets and, the money and, whatever. Right. So he was kind of like being a one-man show.
Okay. So this club didn't have a door guy?
They didn't have a door guy, So Greg was Greg was doing it all.
There was this radio station that he works at doesn't have like an intern
or
something?
There was a guy there. He was an intern, but he was standing there watching the show, and he came over to me and he introduced himself. And I work with Greg, and it's an honor to have you here, sir. He kept calling me sir. He goes, I understand you came a long way, sir. It's an honor to have you, sir. I'm so happy that you're supporting this, and so on and so forth.
And you were like, yeah, kiss the ring.
Yeah. Well, the other thing,
refill on Somo's fucking comment.
That's almost what happened. Aside, I didn't use that terminology, but that was pretty much it.
That's really funny.
That's pretty much it. Well, here was the funny thing, because this place is so small.
Okay.
The bathrooms were literally on the side of the stage.
Ugh, really?
Yes. So
Don's performing. He's got to smell people's piss.
Well, it could be. But the doors to the bathroom were literally on stage right.
So people had to get up on stage to take a piss?
Yes, you had to get up on stage and go into the bathroom.
God damn.
So Don would be sitting there playing, a song, and you could see people coming in and out of the bathroom, and Don had a clear shot of the women's bathroom.
Right.
And every time the door opened, you could see the chicks in there. So Don is like, he goes, this is the weirdest setup. He's like, make sure you wipe good. I mean, it was such a small little club.
Good Lord, man.
So after the show's over and everybody gets their stuff signed and out of the way, Don is like, if I don't get something to eat, he says, I'm going to pass out. Because I'm starving.
The fuck is wrong with Don? They gave him that nice ice. Much more does the guy need?
He goes, where is Greg? I said, I will go find him.
Right.
So he goes, Don is not smoking. He does the vaping thing.
Yeah, sure.
He goes, I shouldn't do this. He says, but I need a real cigarette.
Right.
And there was a door to they had an outside deck, and it was pretty warm. So I said, well, you can go out here on the deck. And so I bummed a cigarette off of some gal.
Right.
And got Don a cigarette, and he went out there just to kind of like try to relax a little bit.
Nice.
So I went and found Greg and walked him out there. He goes, where have you been? Where have you been? He says, well, I had to watch the front and this and that. He goes, Greg, I'm starving. He says, where's the food? He goes, well, what do you want? He says, I can't wait around. He says, let's just go to Wendy's or something. And and Greg's like, well, the kitchen's still open. The girl will get you anything you want, And so Don put in an order for a sandwich, right?
Okay.
So about 5-8 minutes later, some guy come over with the sandwich on a plate.
Yeah.
That's it. Just a sandwich on a plate.
No fries. No
drink. No nothing. And I said, dude, get him a drink. What? So I went over there to the bar and got him a drink, and I got some napkins and all. It's like, and so he was out there having, I was just like, this is unbelievable.
I don't know if you're going to share what Don said, but I got to imagine he was like, I am never coming to this fucking place again.
So after he finished his sandwich, Greg come out on the deck, and Don says, Greg, let's you and me go have a talk.
Nathan from Kentucky. Don says, it's not lunch.
More or less, yes.
Oh, my God.
So he and Greg walk over to the far end of the deck away from everybody.
Yeah.
And all I hear is my name being said like 3 or 4 times during the conversation.
Oh, boy.
If Wendell wasn't here, he knows the drill. He knows how this is handled. And, so on and so forth. And that was just...
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry, buddy. Don, I'm just sorry, buddy. I don't know what happened, Don. I can't believe they didn't bring you fries with your sandwich, Don. Next time you come, Don. Next time you come. Ribeye steak. We'll kill the cow out back. I promise, Don.
Right.
I promise.
Right. So he come back and he goes, I don't know about you. He says, I'm ready to go back to the room. He says, I'm beat.
Right.
So Greg took us back to the hotel, and I was ribbing Greg a little bit. It's like, geez, Greg, are you guys rationing ice and Coke down here? Or what's the deal? Oh, these bartenders that I hired for the show, this is their first major show. And, they didn't know exactly how to handle things correctly. And I had all my hands full, and they should have done this. And, it'll go smoother next time.
I don't get shipments but twice a year.
So, he took it all in stride. It was all good.
That's cool.
So, he says, well, it's an honor to meet you. Here's the thing, though. Don was flying out at like 4:30 in the morning.
Okay.
And so Greg had to take him back to the nearest airport, which was like 2 hours away.
All right.
So because this
ended at like 1 o'clock in the morning, right?
This was about midnight. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So he was able to grab, a couple. Well, they had to leave out at 4:30. So
okay.
So he was able to get like 3 hours of sleep.
Right. Oof.
So Don invited Taylor and I back to his room.
Okay.
So he got the jacuzzi suite.
Okay. Is that the one room that has a bathtub?
Yeah, more or less. But it was the suite, and it had one of those jacuzzis in there and stuff.
Okay.
So Don was telling Taylor and I some stories. I mean, he was on a roll. Okay. Just cracking us up. Right. He was telling us this story about how he had to take this flight into Atlanta.
Yeah.
And he said that he was sitting next to this black lady.
Yeah.
Who had a small child with her.
Okay.
And this child, of course, was running wild.
Of course.
And Don had a cashmere overcoat with him.
Yeah.
One of those long coats.
Yeah, sure.
So this woman, she's speaking her broken English.
Right.
And feeding this kid bananas.
Oh, man.
Well, this kid is running around and getting himself all worked up and whatnot. And he puked bananas all over Don's coat.
Ugh. Yuck.
And he said that lady did absolutely nothing. She just sat there, and he says, all I could hear out of her mouth was like, sorry. And he's like, lady, this is a cashmere coat. And she's like, sorry.
Didn't mean to ruin your coat.
Yeah, more or less. He goes, she didn't offer to clean it up or nothing.
And the racism starts.
So he showed me his coat, and it was all fucked up with this banana throw up on his coat.
Banana puke.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. He's just like, oh. He said then he was telling us how he went to, he had to go to the Atlanta airport.
Yeah.
And he said it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. So things were just opening up over there. The restaurants, the little,
right.
Whatever. Mm-hmm. And he said everybody that worked there was black.
Okay.
And he said none of them spoke English to where you couldn't understand it, He said, so he went over to one kiosk or whatever to order like a coffee and like a, breakfast sandwich or something.
Yeah.
And he's like, how much is it? He goes, like $5.45. It's like, what? $5.45. He says, I got the $5 part. What's the rest? $5.45.
Can you write it down, sir?
He said, so I gave him some money. He goes, you got a penny? It's like, what? He said, got a penny? He said, no. He says, I gotta go get the manager.
Got to get the manager.
Because they didn't break the change bundles open in the drawer.
How about just say, okay, don't worry about it. Gotta have that penny.
I'm telling you what, I had tears in my eyes listening to him tell these stories. Oh my God.
So good.
He said, just getting here, he says, was a nightmare. He says, and then, having the show and no lights and no ice and no Coke and no this and no food. And just like,
he couldn't wait to get on that fucking plane.
He says, I don't know why I do these things. But he had me cracking up. Taylor was just busting a gut.
Nice.
So anyway, he's just like, we were talking about the whole NAM thing and whatever. He goes, why don't you just come on out to my house and stay at my house and we'll go to NAM.
Nice.
It's like, all right, sounds like a deal.
Yeah, it's a done deal for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So then the next morning we left Don because he wanted to get like 3 hours of sleep.
Right.
And then the next morning we headed out
Okay.
And Nathan from Kentucky started texting me while we were driving out, and he says, like, hey, meet me and Psycho Postman for lunch in Lexington.
Right.
So we were heading out that way anyway.
Sounds scary, but okay.
So we met up with them a little afternoon or so, and we were over at the BW3s in Lexington. We were back in civilization again.
There wasn't a crazy woman trying to slam your head in a door, was there?
No, nothing like that.
Okay, that's good.
But we went to BW3s and sat down and had lunch with Nathan and Psycho Postman.
Okay.
And had some lunch and shot the shit and talked about the show and, hung out with the dudes. And right. Psycho Postman picked up the tab, which I didn't want him to do, but he did.
They should fucking pick up the tab. They got to sit with you.
I guess. But he picked up the tab, so thank you, Psycho Postman, for picking up lunch.
Thank you for shit. Do you realize that's a story that he's going to tell his grandkids? When I had dinner with Neeley.
Yeah.
He let me buy his dinner.
Such an honor. Such an honor. But Nathan and Psycho Postman, very cool guys.
That probably took him, about 3 weeks' pay?
I don't know. He's a postman, so who knows?
That might just have been somebody else's fucking welfare EBT card he used. He stole from the mail. I'm sure he knows what those envelopes look like with the new EBT cards.
Look at Nathan. No one threw a salad in Neely's face.
It's good.
That airplane, that was pretty much it. I speak jive.
I speak some jive.
Yeah. Most you won't saying it don't jack me up. What?
That's such a good scene in that movie.
I know. Mrs. Cleaver.
Yeah.
So anyway, we hung out with Nathan and Psycho Postman and had some lunch, and then we hit the road and made the rest of the trip back. But it was a whirlwind trip down and back in basically 48 hours.
Right.
To go hang out with Greg and Don and Psycho Postman and Nathan, and it was a fun weekend.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it went fast. Wow, look at that. Nathan got to meet the Taylor Page.
Old lady got to be running coal upside down his head,
Hey, home, I can dig it. No, he ain't gonna lay no more big rap on you, man.
I say, hey, Sky. Subbers say I won't sing. Pray to Jay, I did the same old.
Knock yourself a pro slick. The gray matter back, lot performers down, not take TCB in, man.
Hey, you know what they say? See a broad to get that booty yak 'em. Leg her down or smack 'em, yak 'em.
Pretty much it.
Just lay him down and smack him, yak him.
Right. So that was the Dokken weekend.
Nice. Sounds fun.
So I got to meet Greg, and he was, he's a nice guy.
Did you happen to listen on Sunday to see how he sucked your said about how honored he was that you were there?
Well, that was the whole thing too, because he ran an archive show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because he said he was just burned out.
So tomorrow will be
I
gotta thank my buddy Neil.
Yeah, tomorrow will be the recap show.
Gotta just tell you guys, Neil has saved my butt. I didn't have but 12 pieces of ice and a Coke, and Neely went out of his way to make sure that Mr. Don Dokken was taken care of.
Right.
It was all about Neely.
Exactly.
He is a god.
Sure.
So, Neely, this one goes out to you. Here's 24 Dokken songs in a row.
Right.
Right here on The Rock Show.
Well, since Psycho Postman was at the show,
yeah,
you should call the show there, Psycho Postman, 800-497-5891. To get a different point of view.
Yeah.
And we'll wrap things up here. But yeah, it was fun. It was cool. And, going down to Whitesburg, that was quite an experience.
Will you ever go back?
Would I have a reason to? Well, if you and I traveled down to see the Glenn Hughes show.
Yeah, now that I would like to go to.
But, that's a long ride.
Can we get a rider with 2 cans of Coke?
And 2 cups of ice.
And fries with our sandwich?
Right.
Please?
Sure. So good.
No, we want to be treated like VIPs, not like schlubs like Don Dokken.
Right. And no mold on the walls.
Yeah, no. We're not staying in the moldy walls.
So.
And we expect full menu.
Right. So great.
Unbelievable.
How would you like to be a guy like Don, who's had an illustrious career and, played in some of the biggest venues in the world and traveled on some of the nicest buses and
still on occasion gets fucking private jetted around.
Yeah.
I mean, that was last year?
Yeah.
Last year they were on the private jet?
Yeah. And then you end up, you can't even get a can of Coke or even a whole cup of ice to yourself.
No, and he has to take fucking a horse and buggy from a tent farm in Whitesburg over to the gig.
Exactly. Is that you, Psycho?
Yeah, it's me.
All right. Well, you were at the show, so what was your take on that show?
I enjoyed Don's comedy act a lot more than the music. He was just letting it rip. I mean, remember the dude that? I thought it was one of Tammy's relatives that was the videoed by Taylor, the chick that was up during Alone Again.
Yeah.
Hands in the air and just acting like it was 84 and she's in the front row. But she came down from Wisconsin with her husband. He drove her down. And that was a dude that got up and opened the beer bottle with his mouth.
Yeah, right.
And that's when Don started making the teeth jokes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. The Tim's wife, she had a beer, and they didn't have an opener, and she was just like, "Anybody have an opener?" So that Wisconsin boy, he got up and he bit the bottle cap off, and he goes,
and Don was,
he was like, "I'm from Wisconsin. We have all our teeth up there."
Yeah, and Don was like, "Well, I know you're not from Indiana."
Oh my God!
Wow.
But yeah, just all those audios that I edited out, that I recorded on my phone, just all the jokes that he was telling, and where I laughed the most, because if you listen to the whole show, I'm back there laughing most of the time. It's not on those edits, but sound guy, oh my gosh. All the feedback and just, I mean, Don, at one point, he was just like, fuck it, I'm not singing anymore.
Yeah.
But he didn't stop, he kept going.
And he was very nice with everybody and signed everything and took every picture and,
Yeah, he was great, and then after the show, because Neeley, I got to hand it to you, man, you were the most professional person there as far as taking care of Don and making sure he had everything he needed and was, looked after and everything. But after the show, when you were moving the cattle line, and I was over bullshitting with Taylor and we were cracking jokes and laughing, I waited last to meet Don, and so I went up and shook his hand. I was like, "Hey, man, love the show." I was like, "Hey, when's your comedy tour start?" But he was pissed though, man. He wasn't in the best mood after the show, and Neeley and Taylor invited me back out on the back porch while Don ate his sandwich, and actually Neeley lit Don's cigarette with my lighter.
Woo!
And I know it. I know I'm never going to use that lighter again. I got it in a special place.
Wow.
But Don, he took Greg down on that lower part of that deck and just, he ripped him for a good 10 minutes. But the funny thing is, so Neeley and Taylor and I are standing back and we're just kind of bullshitting and watching. Well, Don came back up when he was done, and this one chick just came through the door. Neeley opened the door for her, and she comes in, starts standing next to Don and talking. And so Taylor turns to me and goes, she was a pretty heavy chick, and her neck it looked like a small donut around her neck, and it was just fat. And Taylor was like, "Oh my God, she doesn't have a neck. It's like Jabba the Hutt." I was like, "Yeah, Jabba the Slut."
Wow.
And then it went to, "No, she's Blow Jabba the Slut." Where's where's her metal, metal leash and chain, or metal collar and chain? So we were just ragging. Taylor, you're right, Neeley. She's got a wicked sense of humor.
She is. She makes me laugh.
Oh my gosh! I mean, just sitting over and talking with her after the show, and just talking normal. Great to talk with, but man, when she lets that humor fly, it's just like shooting it with a guy. I mean, she doesn't. She doesn't hold back at all. I was like, holy shit.
Too funny.
So, but yeah, it was fun. It was a great weekend. It was a great weekend. Just nice little getaway, and but yeah, when I got to the place, I got on the website and just read up on the place and saw that the normal opening time on Saturdays was 4:00. So I show up about 5, and you can't get in the place. So I'm standing outside talking to the 2 door guys, and I was like, there's another bar across the street, and they're like, yeah, you can go over there and hang out. We're not going to open the doors till 7. Well, about 15, 20 minutes later, Don just gets out of a car that Greg was driving and just walks right by us, goes in about 20 after 5, and he's like, there for sound check. And I was like, oh, there he is. But he just, just walked on by and, and jumped in on the sound check that was already going on. Hung out across the street, and then there was a little vinyl place down around the corner called the Roundabout, and went and checked out some vinyl records to see what they had. But then the show started at 7, and the doors open at 7, and we watched the first 2 opening bands. And
is this chick that they just threw in the chat room, is that really a picture of this chick?
That's pretty close. Yeah. Yep.
Hot.
So you had your big brush with greatness and fame over the weekend, huh, Psycho Postman?
Oh yeah, yeah. It was cool because when I didn't know, I thought you would just be there and just watching the show and along with the crowd, or maybe had a VIP table. But when I first saw you come up to the bar, I was like, oh, there he is. So I came up to break the ice, no pun intended, and you're up there trying to get ice. I'm like, hey, hail and kill, motherfucker. And you're like, hold on a second, man, I'm trying to get some ice. I'm like, all right. He said, we'll talk after the show. I was like, okay, yeah, it's cool. And that's when that big fucking bucket of ice came over the bar. Like, holy shit.
Oh, that was the other thing when we met Nathan and Psycho for lunch. The waitress came up to the table after we sat down, and she goes, hail and kill.
Nice.
Yeah, I set him up. I got there first, and because I was texting with Nathan on the way, and he's like, it's like, where's a good place to go in Lexington? Because I'm making my way back to Louisville. I don't know Lexington all that much. And he said, go to BW3's on Man of War. So I Google mapped it and got there, and he's like, get a table. It's football Sunday. It's going to be packed. I was like, all right. So I got there and got a booth, and Danny was the waitress. I just started, shooting the shit with her and introduced myself. And I said, now I got some friends coming, and so we got these 3 other places. And I said, do me a favor, when they come in and you first wait on them, just say, hail and kill, can I take your order? I said, to help your tip, it'll freak them out. So that was pretty cool.
Jesus.
Wow.
Dumb show.
All right, man. All right, well, I wanted your take on the show. Anything else that stands out for you?
I did have I stayed at the Hotel 8 in Hazard because I didn't know any better to get any closer. I was about 25 miles out. And I did have cable, and I had a flat screen. I didn't have a CRT.
Right.
So that was nice.
Nice. Did you see Bo and Luke Duke?
Yeah. They fucking blew past me. Almost ran me up into a fucking wall, rock mountain.
Right. All right, man. Well, I just wanted to get your thoughts or your input on the show.
No problem. Appreciate it.
All right, dude. Well,
all
right. Well, thanks for lunch again.
Hey, no problem.
All right,
I'll talk to y'all soon.
All right.
All right.
Hail
Later,
and kill.
Chris. Hail and kill.
There he goes.
It's a dumb show.
I know. Hail and kill.
Fucking A. You're in a restaurant and somebody's saying hail and kill to you. What the fuck have we created?
Hail and kill.
Jesus Christ. Man, it would have been really good if she'd have just walked up and said, hand job.
Hail and kill, you're on the air.
Hey, did you guys ever find out what Tammy in Fame looked like?
We never, I don't know what she looks like. I have no idea.
Okay, I just don't know. I remember that she was on a couple different call-in shows.
Yeah, she was on the Rockline show, and obviously she left the voicemail when Chris still had a voicemail line set up for the Dokken website.
Okay. All right, that was just curious.
Nope, never saw her, but she definitely was annoying.
Yeah, it sounds like she'd fit in well at that stuff.
Yeah, she would have.
All right, cool. All right, later.
Ellen Kill. What does Tammy look like?
Yeah. I don't imagine good.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into a tune or two, and we'll come back and we'll finish out with some strong stuff. We got some the Moose.
Yeah, did you read
that?
that?
I did.
Yeah, we got plenty to talk about there, don't you think?
No, I got a couple of stories that'll either make you laugh or just piss you off.
Well, I'm in for either.
All right, well, let's play some Dokken. Let's play some Hunter.
All right,
here it is. It's Dokken exclusively here.
On your classic metal show.